It's actually Friday. It truly is Friday. Last Friday, it was also Friday, but it was last week was a birthday week. And also the kids are now all out of school, which means that it's a zoo. And I never made the time. I never succeeded in forcing myself to make the time to make a video. I apologize. I do have most of a Wednesday night Ammonite done. And I'm also going to I'd like to start a kind of a Saturday night farting around series, just because usually on late nights when I'm doing stuff, it's when I start experimenting, and poking around at things and seeing what I can do or seeing what I can't do. Like this last Saturday, I worked on my great uncle's Omega. Worked on the hands and some other stuff. I managed to straighten a lug on it. I'll tell you about it during the whole wrist check thing, which actually I'll do right now. So I forgot to film wrist check. What I'm wearing here, and there's cracking. It's the end of the day, so I'm out in the garage. But what I'm wearing is my great uncle's 1962 Omega Seamaster. It's caliber 321. The hands, I had to change the hands up. Those are original Omega baton or stick hands. But I blued all of the hands because I just couldn't see them in their stock silver. Against the patina dial, they just faded to nothing. But it's a beautiful watch. I really wanted to wear it, but I couldn't wear it because I couldn't read it at night. And frankly, with the jacked up hands sort of vanishing into the jacked up dial, the watch just looked terrible. That looks a lot better now. I'm pretty happy with that blue. And on the other wrist, I'm wearing 6139 6009 resist notch transitional that I'm wrist testing. And that is my Ammonite loom. There's the Ammonite loom. I'm sorry, Kraken. I'm sorry. Sorry, Kraken. Bugga, 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 bugga. Yeah, I know. Oh, I offended her. Ow, that hurt. Okay, say goodbye. The main thing I really wanted to do was I just couldn't wear it the way it was with the bent lug and all the scratches. And I mean, the dial was really not working for me, but the fact that made it worse was the fact that I couldn't read it. So with the blued hands, I can read it fine. And I think actually having the polished case and the straightened lugs and the blue hands and the new loom, I can read it at night. It's a usable watch and a handsome one because it makes the dial patina the exception rather than the overall beaten upness of the watch, the totality of it. Okay, here we go. Jeff117. How you doing, man? Great mail call, Spencer. Thank you. I watched the new Kenobi series. I had no preconceived notions as I haven't watched any animated stuff. I've only watched the Star Wars movies. I was able to follow and figure out who everyone was. This was masterful, really well done. The TV series of Star Wars are how future movies or canon stuff should be done. I was worried about the instant access to... Oh, and then you start talking about a watch, so I got confused. So let me stop there for a second. I don't know. I'm enjoying Kenobi. I think it's just fine. I don't view it as a lot of Star Wars fans are. They just, again, it's, they've had nothing. They've had 30 years of betrayal from every creator of Star Wars. They've been failed constantly since the prequel trilogy came out. Actually, they've been complaining since Ewoks. So it's like, and every single time they're like, you've ruined my life, you've destroyed Star Wars, I can't believe you destroyed this character. And we don't look at it that way. Sabrina's over there. We don't look at, I didn't look at it this way. My thought was that, these are stories that already exist. We're just hearing about them now. I've really been enjoying it. I really have been. And I think the Reva, the third sister, I think she's well cast and an understandable character. People seem to forget that Star Wars is, as George Lucas likes to say, primarily intended for children. So, what the hell? Why not? let us get back to this. Honey, unless you had something to add about Star Wars.
No.
Okay, she says she's good. So now we are going to go back and we're going to talk about. There were a lot of comments about that Marine Master, the one that was found in the surf, and we didn't get to restore it. I didn't get to go through it. So this comment and many others are going to revolve around that. I was worried about the instant access to air. Oh, for those of you who aren't aware, a customer sent in a watch that he had been gifted from a coworker who had found it on a beach in Hawaii, where it clearly had been underwater in seawater for quite some time, to the point that it actually had marine growth on it, and some water intrusion. And I opened the watch and I was worried about that happening because I could see there was liquid water inside the watch. It was still there, which means what happens is all the oxygen inside the case reacts with everything that it can, and then it runs out of oxygen and nothing happens. It just sits there because there's no energy to fuel a reaction. But when you open it up, the oxygen gets in there and the clock starts ticking, and so that's what I was worried about. I was worried about the instant access to air once you opened that Marine Master. This is why most artifacts are found underwater, remain underwater until restoration begins. It doesn't take long for oxidation to occur. I started seeing changes in 45 minutes, maybe less. By the time the watch gets back to the owner, it will be even worse. Oh yeah, no, I could have saved it. I could have saved it, but you know. I hope this won't become a nightmare for you. You know what? In the end of the day, everything's a nightmare. No, I'm joking. No, not really. I wish I could have saved the watch. I feel badly that I couldn't have done more for the owner. And I certainly could have, but I have to really sit on myself and stop my habit of doing a ton of extra stuff that, you know, takes a lot of extra time and I don't really get compensated for in any direct way. I mean, I'm talking about like extra stuff that, you know, maybe wasn't required, but makes the watch look a little better or something like that. But I already spend too much unpaid time improving other people's watches, so that would have eaten up a lot of time. Just couldn't do it. Yeah, it is a shame I couldn't restore it. What are you going to do? Okay. Super Cruise. Spencer, regarding the Marine Master 300. Do I have a pen? Hang on. I'm going to start marking off ones that I've read. How's that for an idea? Regarding the Marine Master 300, sorry that arrangement did not work out for you to try and save the piece. It would have made for some epic videos, absolutely. Having watched a number of documentaries on deep-sea salvage and treasure hunters, it is interesting to note that they bring metal items up from the bottom of the ocean, having sat there for extended periods. It appears they flush the items with fresh water and then store them in some type of liquid to prevent further oxidation of the item prior to the cleaning process. Would it have been advisable upon opening the Marine Master 300 to immediately flush it with fresh water, or to submerge it in fresh water for a bit, to immediately taking the movement apart for cleaning and repair? I wouldn't use water. Something like that, I mean, even though this happened years and years ago, the water in the watch, effectively no time was passing inside the watch. So it was almost like it had just happened. In that case, there's no place really for the water to hide. You've got potentially clean surfaces. Oh, who am I kidding? That thing was all rust inside. Here's what the old timers used to do. When they would get in watches that inevitably had water damage, because these dudes were guys that came up like after World War II. So they saw a lot of watches that were not really made to be waterproof. They had a lot of water in them back when people used to pay money regularly to have their watches maintained. But what they would do, they said, I'm trying to think, there was a couple things. They never used alcohol because, of course, that melts shellac and you don't want to deal with that. evaporust products similar like it. One Dip is sort of like is sort of an immediate first thing. The thing is you got to get the water out, but One Dip will push almost everything out. But you got to be careful. You can't if you leave like a balance with a blued hairspring. If you leave that in One Dip too long, it'll pull that off because it pulls off the oxidation, and that's effectively what bluing is. Is you're oxidizing a top layer of the metal so it no longer reacts with anything. It's just wait, where'd the paper go? Oh, it's right here. It's, you know, what I would have done. Yeah, you pull the hands, pull the movement, pull the hands, pull the dial, all that stuff, calendar elements, rip that stuff out, and then you could run it through One Dip real quick. Just literally drop it in and have it drive everything out. But even that, I would only do that if I wasn't going to get to it for a while. That watch, if things had gone the way I had hoped, the minute I cracked that thing open, I would have just ripped it apart. Yeah, I would have just ripped it. The whole thing would have been apart like that. And then I would have hand dried every piece, and then every single piece I would have put through One Dip and hand cleaned and hand inspected, and basically done, you know, after battle triage to try to figure out what the next things are that need to happen. I would also, at that point, as soon as I had the only thing is, what do you do with the dial in the hands? You got to rinse them real quick. I don't know about Tarn X, because that, I think, softens loom. Alcohol. Distilled water. Distilled water. With the handset, I would distill water it. Yes, that's exactly what I would do. I would put them on wooden toothpicks, the hands, with a third container for the sweep hand, and then I would actually, very mild soapy water, literally. Soap them up, get all the crap off of them, then warm water, but not denatured, distilled, and then, because you don't want to be too cold, room temperature is good, and then you blow it off with canned air, sideways along the face of the hand like this. You don't ever want to get downward pressure because you can pop out the loom. Ask me how I know that. But that's what I would have done. And then I would have done the same thing, which is a hand wash of the dial. It's what you literally do. I have a very soft sable brush, and you get just a teeny tiny bit of slightly ammoniated water with a teeny tiny bit of, like a speck of like liquid dish soap, just a little bit. And you, with not cold, not hot, not even warm, but you just literally just very slowly with a very fine brush, you brush the dial surface, something like that, and then you can rinse it off with clean water, just very gently through the water. You wash it like that, you get it out, and you very carefully blow it off with your canned air. You'd be amazed how nice some dials come out, because it doesn't alter the dial surface. It doesn't hurt things unless the dial's already weakened. But a good dial, you know, it seems insane, you know, to give a dial, especially one with perfect loom, a little bath. It works better than anything, because you're not touching the dial. That's the most important thing. Loom goes bad in the presence of water when it sits in the presence of water for a long time. You're just giving it a quick rinse. Everything comes off. The dials look so much better when you wash them. But you got to be careful. You got to know what you're doing. It's real easy to screw up, people. Okay, so I did answer that one. And I just dropped the cap. Ooh, damn it. I thought I caught it. Let us move on. Again, I brought the Marine Master from user Discount. A citizen challenge diver was lost in 1977 and then found on an Australian beach in 1983 covered in barnacles. It still worked. And this is a Marine Master? Yeah, I don't get it either. I don't get it either. It ate a hole right through that outer ring. It's not even like disposable part of the case or anything else like that. It's not like it's a major piece of screw down ring of the case. It ate a hole right through the middle of it, and plus on the case on the other side, it did this whole like eaten out thing. It's not a good look. It's not what I would have expected. And certainly Seiko was better than that back in the day. I don't know. Who knows? But the damage came not from getting hit or getting bonked or anything else like that. I don't think it had very much time on it when it was lost. All the damage came from the metal failing from having sat in salt water for a long time. And that's 100% entirely on Seiko. Tom N. Sounds like the Marine Master project just wasn't meant to be. Yeah, I know. Very cool Seamaster. Thank you. Oh, wait, or do you mean the other? Oh, you mean my blue one. I think you mean that one is... Oh, no, that one's over there. I have to check on it. There's something funky with that one. Very cool Seamaster. I immediately Googled it and found that there's a TV dial variant nicknamed, wait for it, the Jedi. Reference 176005. Yeah, that one's 176007. That one's a 007. 90% sure. I like the Valjoux 7750 too. I have two. One in my Speedmaster triple date, the other a nicely decorated version in my Neo Vintage Chrono Swiss Kairos chronograph. Neo Vintage Chrono Swiss Kairos chronograph. I'm going to look that up at some point. Not right now. The sturdy sense you get from them is reassuring. Yeah, you know, the thing about the Valjoux 7750 is they're not crude. They're not unfinished. They're not unrefined. They're well made. They're nicely finished. Movements are clean. The machining is super accurate. They're pretty movements to look at. They're fun to service. They have their quirks, but once you know their quirks, they're fine. They're cam driven, which some of the old school purists are like about. But you know what? The technology works. Not only does the technology work, it's extremely reliable. Yeah, Valjoux 7750 is seriously, it's pretty much my favorite Swiss chrono movement because it's just got. It's ubiquitous. It works. You can depend on it, and it just keeps going and going and going. Full disclosure: I've never owned or looked at a Zenith El Primero, so I don't know much about that. Because one of the things I like about the 7750 is that it's automatic. Hand winders were always kind of not my thing because it kind of felt like they were sort of inert, but then I stopped thinking that way and I realized it was actually kind of a fidget thing. So I like them. Now I like them. Okay, Tom N's question. Is it ever harmful to rotate watch hands backwards? I'm thinking about when you could get to the correct time more quickly going backwards than forwards. I don't think there's really much harm you can do to the train itself. I mean, you don't want to do it a lot. It's not designed to go that way. Only thing I would be very concerned about are your date switch changeovers or anything that runs on the calendar side. Because if you are running stuff backwards and it's not, somebody didn't take that, the risk, the possibility of that thing happening, real bad things can happen. You want to run a machine the direction it wants to run. I mean, like this clock here. Look, 2 Seth Thomases. That's my 1943 U.S. Navy ship clock. I just need a glass for it. But anyway, it's what the heck was I now? I was talking about backwards. Oh yeah, so this thing is I set it forwards when I had set it. I had to run it forward like 10 hours, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I should have just gone backwards. No. The time doesn't matter. You know, I spent a little bit more time to wind it forward. If I had tried to cut corners and go backwards to save something, that wouldn't work. Wouldn't make sense. And if the watch has been maintained, if the cannon pinion is properly lubricated with the, as it's supposed to be, going forward a few turns is no big deal. Where'd my pen go? There it is. regarding the Marine Master. Aaron Costello. Hey man, I'm always happy to see your name come up. I'm always grateful to see you come up. For those who don't know, Aaron Costello is he's one of the old guard, one of the old dudes who's been around forever from the beginning. Really super nice guy. He's always been a supporter. Nice guy to see. So Aaron Costello, it is really weird seeing what appears to be a 2015 Marine Master 300 in this condition, given that 99% of them are safe queens or desk divers. I am truly surprised this watch has leaked. Hey man, I was too. Did you see the rust, all the rust that was underneath that cartridge, that screw down ring? That's bananas. That was bananas. Maybe that ring's a lesser grade of steel. Maybe Seiko did what Seiko seems to always do, which is, well, 99% of people aren't ever going to really put this thing to the test, so who's really going to notice if we don't really do it? See how that policy got the Russian army in trouble. Oh, we're never going to need these 10,000 tanks. I can sell the engines to Ukraine. I'm going to. And they did. In any case, I'm not sure if you remember this. I'm not sure that you remember the story. Oh man, yes I do. But some years ago, I got a 6105 that was dredged off the bottom of a river in Oregon back in the 1980s, and it had not leaked at all. The story of how the 6105 was saved from a watery grave is almost cooler than the watch itself, and the same is true here. Would be nice to see it running again, but 8L35 parts are hard to find. Man, I would have loved to have brought this watch back. The only regret I have above that was something completely out of my control, was that none of the marine growth was left. The owner wanted to clean it off some. So I would have tried to find a way to keep that. I mean, that's some pretty much irreplaceable, unrestorable, unreplaceable patina and story. You just can't replace stuff like that. Do you still have that 6105? So just so people know, the guy who had the watch, Aaron got it from, he was a dredging operator. He was dredging out a channel, I don't know, somewhere up in Washington State on the coast or in a river. And I don't know how a dredge would kick up stuff that in a way that he would be able to see it, but there was a 6105. I remember the post that it had a section of broken strap on it. I believe that's true, and it hadn't leaked. Anyway, that watch is alive somewhere. Alive now. Anyway, if I could ever find my pen. Cool. Again, about the Marine Master 300, Roy G. is the ring that takes the whole watch apart and hold everything in, left-hand threaded. Yes, it is. The crystals on these, those cases, there are... Okay, so this isn't a Marine Master 300. This is the original, but the design base is the same. You have a monocoque case, single piece, so you have fewer areas for water to get in. The Marine Master, whew, that's a pretty watch. Look at that thing. Wow. The Marine Master, the way that it works in the Marine Master, like older screw-down Seiko crystal things are usually just a single ring. You had a crystal that was pushed into an L gasket, and that was held down with either a snap ring or a screw-down ring. In the Marine Master's case, it was an unusual situation that it had that screw-down ring, that normal screw-down ring, and that was the normal threading. So if you wanted to just do the crystal, you could. You can take the crystal off and take that ring off, the inner ring, the normal way, get your crystal out, do your swap, put it back together. And because the under cartridge ring is left-hand threaded, that's not going to come off when you're doing that. But yeah, the thing that holds the whole watch together is an integral part of the entire construction of the case. rusted through in a few years, or however long that thing was underwater. I don't know. It blows my mind. I don't get it. But anyway, but yes, that's left-hand threaded. So if you're ever trying to do just a crystal and Marine Master, you do the inner ring, and it's the normal lefty-loosey. And then the other one, if you pull the other one, yeah, the outer one goes backwards. And so there's no way to, you got to lean on them. Okay. Yeah, man, I wish I could have restored that Marine Master. What are you going to do? Let's see. Connor Whitworth. In defense of Seiko, so many mass-produced watches, you are inevitably going to get or create some QC issues. In higher-end pieces, though, it's inexcusable, especially when we know that the Marine Master 300 is constructed in the same place as Grand Seiko. Durable MEMS technology also used in the MM300. Almost Grand Seiko must extend to almost regulating their movements. It's a shame because the 8L35 has proved its worth over several decades. It's a good movement. Seiko, I swear, Seiko does this again and again and again, where they have almost everything, but they want to save that little bit of money, and they just cut that little corner. And they just, in my perception, they do that a lot, where they're just, they want to save a few pennies per unit for some stupid reason. And that leads them to do things like produce and sell, high and limited edition pieces that come out with beat error. Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty wild. I mean, I love a lot of what Seiko does, but it's some of the decisions that are beyond their design, beyond, I think, even their QC. Really, it's a systemic problem that someone in a position of control is putting a heavy emphasis on cost savings. Watch me draw. As far as Seiko quality control and cheaping out, all I've got to say is there's a reason why people don't buy from China and India. Japan-made is a well-established symbol of high quality. Seiko can change back again, but it may have gone too far, maybe to the point of no return. Seiko prices have gone up, but quality control standards have gone down. Isn't that the kicker? And that was, when I read that line, I was like, oh yeah, that's true. I'll read it again. Seiko prices have gone up, but quality control standards have gone down. And, just to touch on this, another question that people have, Seiko is putting out, they're reissuing the slim case 6105s. They really are. SPB 313J1, SPB 315J1, SPB 317J1. What they appear to be, and we'll go over and look at them. I'll actually have a segment over there and we'll look at them. Or I could just insert some pictures. Why don't I do that? Okay, so here we are. This isn't the Seiko page. This is Monochrome. It's their watch site. I only chose them because they had nice big photographs, and it took me the least amount of time to get to them. And because I want things to go fast, that's what I chose. But they are good pictures. Let's see if we got going on here. Oh, they're good. No glare on the screen. Yeah, so this, there's your stock one. They're still doing the red pip. I wonder if that's, I don't know why it's not orange pink. I don't know why they're going with red, but it might be something for the ISO certification. I'd be very curious to see the case finishing. I'm sure the case finishing is exquisite. Seiko has never missed with their case finishing. But look at, darn it. Look at the pip. It's off center, right there. That one's off center. I can't tell with that one. I'm not really sure. Yep, pip is off center. If you tilt your head sideways, like what I'm doing right now, you can see it's not centered. Not centered. That is pretty though. Man, I just love black, white, and gold. I don't know, black, white, gold, and stainless. That's really attractive. Boy, that's a pretty watch. Just in terms of colors. I really do like that. That's pretty neat. I mean, just in terms of colors, I'm sure I'd be annoyed if I owned it, but they make a lot of hullabaloo about the watch only being 12.3 millimeters tall, about the watch being low. They must have heard people complaining about how gigasmic their watches are. This bracelet's cool. I don't care about the rubber strap. It looks like it's one of those thick, grippy ones. That bracelet looks really awesome. That looks really cool. Yeah, that looks really neat. I like that bracelet a lot. Look at that, because it's like a 5 link, and it's a taper too. That's a cool bracelet. And that's not something I remember seeing quite like that from Seiko. It almost looks like a JB Champion style throwback bracelet. That's a nice bracelet. I would really want to see one of those. I really want to see one of those bracelets. Yeah, why do they do the red? If this was orange, seriously, I would have such an easier time loving these watches if this pip was orange. But look at this. Look at how off center that is. Honey, you ought to see this.
What?
Oh, never mind, you're in bed. That's nuts. I love this handset. I love this gabled handset. I think it's one of the most beautiful choices Seiko's made in a long time. And I know people don't like the X, but I love the symmetry and balance of this thing. Well, I don't love it. I like it. Hey, look, pip is kind of centered there. Ooh, but you can see, look, it's divoted up at the top. It's got the squinch up at the top. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's so bad. And look, this isn't like a running watch. See, look, this is one of the samples. This is one of the pre-production salesman samples. There's nothing in, there's no movement in this. So Seiko said, these are the inspected pieces that are going to go out, that people are going to look at. And they said, it's fine. Good enough. Look at that. They got the nice finish on the insert too. That nice like little ripply eggshell. That's so nice. And they have the angled interior. But the frickin' pip. You know what I'd have to do if I owned this? I would have to find a way to pull this insert, and I would open up this hole with a my Zeitz reamer, and I would basically make this larger and correctly centered, and then I would build a correct old school pip for it that was centered and was big enough. I tell you, that red just drives me nuts. I just don't care for it. That's so bad. I can't believe it. I don't know that this works for me. I don't really like the white dial. I do like that bracelet though. Oh, 11 of 12. We got one more picture. Really? Oh, of course, because this is a sample watch. It has no data on the case back. So they either blurred it out or they just never stamped it. And I have some salesman sample watches that are like this, where the backs are just blank. They don't even say sample. It's a standard case back. Nothing funky, nothing special. Crown looks fine. I'm sure it's the same exact setup as all the new cases, that it's a 7000, you know, it's a 7S26, it's a 007 crown setup. The only thing I don't know is the price point. 120 clicks, 3 different editions, diver's extension, in-house caliber 6R35. Extended power reserve 70 hours. Look at their claimed accuracy of -15 plus 25. I think these folks probably got a chance to really look at these salesman sample ones, because clearly that's what they sent. That's what the back looks like. that they're not going to want to, they're going to want to give a good review so that, Seiko gets some positive stuff out of it. Crazy. All right, folks, that's enough about this. To continue, I fear that if the quality goes back up, the prices would continue past the worth. Well, yeah, I would think so. They're not going to lower their prices, are they? They've never shown any inclination to lower their prices. In a perfect world, the prices would have gone up when the quality went up. It seems like every new Seiko owner needs to know a watch person like us who knows their way around a watch to set straight the watch and adjust it. That's certainly true. Seems to be true from Seiko, and it's really hard to... I place great stock in honesty. I don't like using waffly words or any of that kind of weaselly words. I don't like unnecessarily slamming something. It's just sometimes I just got to talk about some of the things I find. I love Seiko, but that's why I look and see all these problems and why it's still continually disappointing to me, because I have spent a lot of time in this life promoting the greatness of Seiko. Any case, so these new ones are coming out. I really do wonder, do you think that they saw the sales for Redune, their reissues? Remember I did a review of that, and Redune sold completely out like 3 or 4 times. They were selling them on military bases. It was bananas. Anyway, but somebody in Seiko noticed, and out they came. Or maybe it had nothing to do with it. Maybe they just wanted to do it anyway. They've done every other diver. Why not that one? Okay. Darkwing Duckish. Dear Spencer, I always appreciate your profound knowledge. Well, thank you. I hope it's accurate. In my opinion, you had the most accurate discussion of the 6105 compared to the Redune homage with real heart and soul. Well, thank you. Now Seiko is coming out of the woodwork. See the SPB 317. I know, kind of elaborate, but could you do a comparison of the Seiko reissue with the original and the Chinese version? That would be a great update to your first review. Thank you for all the knowledge shared. You're welcome, and thank you for watching. I'd love to do a side-by-side comparison, but I only have the original. I don't have the Redune. I had it I fiddled around with it for a couple of weeks and answered some questions that I was curious about, and then I sold it. And then, of course, I found out how much money I generated for Redune, and in fact, how, relatively speaking, important that particular watch was. I don't even know who I sold it to. I don't even know where it is. But somebody out there owns my Redune that was featured in that thing. Somebody owns it. Okay. Yeah. So the thing is, and I'm not going to buy one of these new reissues. If somebody wants to send it to me, I'd love to see it. No, literally. Absolutely 100% no BS. I would love to see it. I would genuinely look forward to seeing it, hoping, as always, for the best. I don't know if we get the best, but you can always hope for it. So if I was able to get my first Redune back and someone decided to gift me one of these new reissues, hey, I'd even take a salesman sample. You got one? You guys got some salesman samples out there? Anybody, talking to the people, at, Two Brick Watch Snobs or any of that kind of stuff, who post really nice pictures of this stuff? Somebody has to have a salesman sample. I want it. I don't know. So in any case, if that could happen, we could do it, but until that happens, we can't.
Ow.
Say what? Who what?
Nothing.
Well, no, I had to go through a thought-terminating exercise to stop thinking about that. It's over. It's done. We move on to the next thing. They're going to die of old age before I finish this video. Andres de Moya. I just bought a Seiko 7838-7280 for $180, which I think is a steal. Greatest all-around quartz movement, in my opinion, ever made. First quartz chronograph movement ever. Seiko invented them. Oh yeah, the best of the best. It's been really complicated to find extra links, and I've got thick wrists. let's see. Sometimes I wish I was a lesser man. Just a joke. Skinny doesn't mean you are a lesser man. That's true. Look, man, I've been fighting my weight my whole life, so you're preaching to the choir. It's one of these things. If I were looking for bracelets, always break first. Seiko's bracelets are durable, but if they really get worn and the original owner didn't like ever clean them, because those guys in the 70s would just wear them like they would wear it every single day and they would never clean it. That's just super gross. But as a result, a lot of the bracelets failed, and so there's a lot more watch heads out there than there are bracelets. But I would set up a recurring search on eBay set only to the United States. Well, you might get some out of Ramon. If you go to eBay and look up the watch collector, his name is Ramon. He's down in the Philippines, but he has a great shop and he sells unrestored watches, never does a thing to them. And what you see is, in fact, what you will get. I have been buying for him for more than a decade. So anyway, you can write him and say, hey, I've got this. Do you have one of these bracelets? He could well have bracelets, but look in the United States, eBay, and do searches for 7838 and just keep looking at them. You can also look at Seiko bracelet lot. Those are the keyword searches. Specifically Seiko bracelet lot, because if you just go Seiko watch lot, you're going to come up with like 25,000 auctions. But Seiko bracelet lot, it should get it down a little bit more, especially if you look for and select used. That's all I can offer. Okay. Sheila, what's the state of the collection? I haven't seen one since 2019, or am I missing something? I've been doing one every year. This one, this whole year has just been this just weird mess. I did do a state of the collection, but I did it in the context of a Friday video. If you look back a couple of months, it says it in the description. It'll say SOTC. And I go over it. I don't really like to do state of the collection stuff. Like, here, behold my stuff. I don't really, it feels like showing off. To me, it feels, I don't know, it feels like bragging. And that's just, self-aggrandizing. And we have enough problems with inflated egos anyway, so I don't want to worry about that. I do like showing off my watches, though. I do like showing off my watches. I really do. If enough people want me to do a more recent show, we can, but the one from 2 months ago is pretty accurate. Okay. Can you talk? Oh, I'm sorry. Talking Time with Buford T. Shylock. Could you please talk about and show a Seiko 6119 6020 silver dial? I could if I owned one. I don't. 6020, those are one of the earlier ones. I've owned some beautiful silver dials. Man, they beautiful ones. They're rare. They're not nearly as rare as the golds. I've only owned 2 golds, and those are the only golds I've ever personally seen. I might have worked on one. I don't remember. But they're nothing compared to the green. Here's a picture of the green dial. Any case, so yeah, that was, that's a rare watch. But other than that, the dial colors, they're all the same watches. They're not that rare. They're rarer than you'd think they should be. Okay, now we have a helpful comment about a previous question about solid gold cases on Seikos. Mr. James Duffy of the Sandwich Time channel gives us an answer. I'm just catching up on mail call videos. Seiko made low production run solid gold models, but they were rarely in the consumer catalogs. I think they were in supplemental catalogs and pamphlets. There were 18 karat solid gold Seiko Chariot models that were akin to the rounded 2220 and rectangular 2220 3031 cases. There were also 6660 and 6810 models with solid 18 karat gold cases. Well, and I have from you. I got that tank watch, and it's not a solid gold, but it's a solid silver case. I wish it wasn't so small. The movement is beautiful. Beautiful movement. Continuing on with Mr. James Duffy of the Sandwich Time channel. I love the Obi-Wan Kenobi series so far. Is it perfect? No. Star Wars has never been perfect. However, there have been so much fanboy outrage in the Star Wars fan community over Moses Ingram's portrayal of Reva third sister. I find her to be refreshing and a complex and genuinely menacing villain, where the rest of the series, still enjoyable, is still the same old Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but my Star Wars has never been my Star Wars, and accepting this fact has allowed me to enjoy this franchise for what it is. At the end of the day, I've never been in a position to influence literally anything in the franchise. Star Wars is laser swords, ray guns, rocket ships, space aliens, and the Force. Don't forget that. Magic. It is not high art. It is kid stuff like having ice cream for dinner, and that is okay. That's a fantastic comment. I agree with every darn word. And I'm just, I love the Clone Wars and, all the Clone Wars content, the animated stuff. You got to work to get through some of it, and you have to make sure you're watching in the correct watch order. But, it's worth the investment. It's absolutely worth the investment. And this show, Kenobi show, is a natural outgrowth of that. I love Ewan McGregor's portrayal. I thought they did... I thought the showing him being just utterly gripped with fear and paralytic helplessness was amazing. I thought that Hayden Christensen's been doing great as Vader. Vader's character made perfect sense to me, because at this time he was still partially Anakin, and so which means he was whiny crybaby in his giant robot body, wishing that he had rocket fists. He's whiny Anakin. Why, poor Anakin. Why is everybody mean to me? He only won that pod race because I swear he had Force help from being a Force sensitive individual. He wasn't that great a pod racer. Okay, next question, and this is I want to make sure if I have any questions left. No, I have a couple more questions left. Sylvain Arnett. This is about a 6139 6000 gold dial, I believe. I am looking to acquire this style 6139 True Pogue, but I'm curious. Not True Pogue, but gold dial Pogue. Is it common for this style Pogue to possess a Kanji day wheel, even if it isn't truly JDM? Even if it is truly JDM, I'm not seeing too many with it. Most date wheels are strictly English-Spanish. Yeah, a lot of them are. There were only a few models I can remember off the top of my head that had Kanji English that weren't JDM, and it was there was a 6138 speed timer. But basically, if the watch was for domestic consumption, and it had a dual language, one of them would always be that Kanji. The rest of the world, here in North America, you see mostly Spanish English. You see French English. If you get a watch from South America, you can see Portuguese English. Very rarely I'll get German English. Again, a lot of French English. I've only seen photographs of Danish English, but they're really cool. I want to get one. Same thing, there's Swedish English. I don't know if there's Cyrillic. I wonder, does Seiko have a Cyrillic day wheel? Probably doesn't. I know they have Arabic. They have Sanskrit. I don't know. Does anybody know? Be curious. Let's find out about that. But basically, if you're looking at a 6139 that is not JDM, it should have a language, day wheel language, that is aligned with the part of the world it's going to. Last two comments I'm going to read are about my comment about calling the Arnie a branch of the Tuna tree. CMB, years back, you noted the very similar case lines between the Italian Tuna and the H558 Arnie. I've emailed both addresses referring this. I had actually completely forgotten about that until you said something, and I had that same feeling when I was looking at the Arnie. I was like, when I was looking at the case and the moldings, because those Italian tunas, They were a Y167 movement or something. 2 buttons up here, like so. They were pretty. They were only made for Italy. There was 6 different colorways, but the case was a machined solid piece of metal that had this shape. So it was like a tuna, but it was like a cargo cult version of a tuna. It was the outside kind of looked like one, but it wasn't actually that kind of thing at all. It was just decoration. But still, though, that's where they got the thing from. So I'll stand by it. But thank you for reminding me. But this thing, it's got the shroud and it has the rotating ring. I would absolutely put it in to the realm of, the tuna. Because there it is. Well, thank you both very much for that. I appreciate it. I don't know. That's about it. I don't have much bench stuff to show off because I had all that other stuff on this other farting around video that I'm going to put together and publish at some point today. But other than that, that's it, man. You guys have a good weekend, and we'll have a good weekend. And that's about it. Oh, you like my hair, by the way? Sabrina, during the birthday week, made me go to the barber lady and sat there and directed, and this is what they came up with, and I think I look pretty hip. Other than that, thank you all. I got a number of messages wanting to make sure that I was okay because I didn't have video last week, or in fact videos for the last couple of weeks. I appreciate the concern. Thank you for checking up on me. Other than that, man, it's the weekend. I am not working on watches this weekend. The last 2 weekends, I've worked 14, 15 days straight, every day. Okay, so I'm taking the weekend off. I'm gonna dig up the backyard or do something else. So you folks have a good weekend. Rock on.